Hi everyone, I'm Trisha Morris from Club Scrap, and I am so excited to share my brand new triple easel card making formula with you today. Now what's cool about this formula is you only need 5 sheets of 12 by 12 paper to make 4 triple easel cards. They're going to be super cool, and what I'm going to do also in the process of demonstrating this to you is show you how Club Scrap's kits work. We make both page kits and card kits, and we've been sending our kits out monthly to our members every month since 1999. So that's 22 years of monthly kits, and we just keep refining what we do each month so that we can keep our members inspired and making things rather than letting them pile up. Is that you? If it is you, I'm here to help. I have lots of great ideas to help you use your stash and use everything we send. Let's go ahead and get started. So I have a document of instructions that you're going to be able to download, and I'm going to be sharing a landing page with you on my screen. It's clubscrap.com/pages/triple. And that's going to get you to a landing page where you'll be able to see a link to download this file of instructions. But for now, just don't worry about it. I'm going to be demonstrating this to you, and then you can go back later, watch the video, grab your instructions, grab your papers, make this at your own pace. I understand everybody has their own ideal pace. Mine may be a little bit faster than yours. After all, I've been at this for almost 3 decades now. So with a little bit of practice, you'll be extremely efficient. Now I have selected from Club Scrap's April Sprouts collection. Aren't these colors just fabulous? I absolutely love them. So we're going to be trimming 4 colors, the light green, yellow, dark green, and purple, all the same exact way. And then we're going to trim the ivory a different way. Now, if you plan to stamp your cards to finish them, I encourage you to use ivory. If you're not going to stamp them and would like to use pre-printed things, maybe you could use a print. Let me show you what I mean. Here is the triple easel card made with ivory paper that has been stamped with our Sprouts stamps. Every month we design stamps to match our kits. And isn't that cute how that card works? Again, that's just with the ivory plain, that's stamped. Now, this card is made with a print from the Sprouts collection, and then I've added some trimmed cut-aparts adapted from our card kit to adorn this card. So this is stamped, this is not stamped. It doesn't really matter what your preferred method is. It's just that you have the ability to do it any way you like, which is kind of cool. It makes this formula very flexible. So again, this is the triple easel card. Sit back, relax, watch how this goes down, and then you can make some of your own. Now, with our formulas, they come with diagrams and written instructions. We've got a lot to do here, but don't let that frighten you. We'll just take it one sentence at a time and trim our paper accordingly. And here it says paper A, B, C, and D are all trimmed the same way, and they all follow the same grain direction. Now, if you've never taken a class with me before, maybe you don't know about the importance of the grain direction of our paper. You can't tell what it is by just simply looking at it. Hold the paper by the edge, an edge or a side, and study whether the paper seems loose or if it seems stiff. Then rotate one turn, and here you can see this paper dip deeply down. That way you know the grain of the paper is running this way. Eventually we'll be folding the paper in this direction. So if you cut your paper so that eventually you fold it against the grain, that's when you're going to get that really crumpled, icky looking fold. We don't want that. Okay, so here's what you do. My paper will, right now, if I hold it this way, is dipping easily from top to bottom. That's how I want it inserted into the trimmer. And if you're proficient at your trimming, let's trim 2 at the same time. So I'm going to check my next sheet. This is very stiff. That's very flexible. So that's the direction I want it dipping, top to bottom. And that arrow is shown in my trimming diagram. Next thing I want you to do is just allow the paper to pile up to the right of the blade as we trim. I'm using my awesome 12-inch Fiskars guillotine. I carry these trimmers because I believe they are the best tool for our jobs that we're doing with our paper trimming. Trim through 2 pieces easily. Now our first cut is at 11.5 inches, and this trimmer has a mark every 1/4 inch. So here we are at 11.5. Then I'm going to stabilize on the clear bar after making sure the paper is nice and straight in my trimmer base. If it's not straight, you're not going to have a straight cut. And there we go. That was 11.5. Now I'm going to slide down to 8.5. Try to keep those papers lined up nicely. 8.5, halfway between 8 and 9. Stabilize. And the last cut in this direction is at 4 1/4. So stabilize and cut. Okay, now I'm going to rotate these pieces so that it's horizontal, and we have quite a few cuts to make, so bear with me. Our first one is at 11 3/4, 10 1/2, and 5 1/2. Now what I'm going to do is make a series of piles of pieces that are all the same size. So first I have these 2 pieces. I'm just going to set them aside, and I'll show you my piles later. I know they're going to be off camera, but I'm just going to set those in like-sized piles. Now I have this little strip, and believe it or not, we're going to trim it horizontally at 3 1/4 and set that in its own pile. All the little pieces that we've created that remain are scraps. I'll just scoot those aside and pick up my next strip to the right of the blade. Right now it's still 4 1/4 by 12 again. So this one we're going to trim a little differently. We'll start out at 10, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. Okay, so now if I collect the things I just trimmed, there's going to be 2 sets of papers that are the same size. They're going to get their own pile. Another one a little skinnier, and another one even skinnier than that. So I'm just establishing a bunch of piles to the left here, and I have one more strip that I still need to trim. Okay, so our first cut on this 3 1/2 by 12 is going to be at 11 1/2, 10 1/2, and 6 1/4. Now, I regret to inform you that this large rectangle is not used in this project. Not that it can't be, but it doesn't have an official use. I'm going to set that larger piece aside, and here I'm going to form yet another pile of this differently sized item. And there are the smallest little rectangles. I'm just going to show you where we're headed. See that this rectangle fits on that one. So we're creating a lot of nesting panels. We're going to repeat all of this again. Maybe I'll just do it more quickly, that we did with the purple and the dark green. So again, 11 1/2. You saw me check the grain direction. So we're dipping easily top to bottom. Don't forget that on your second sheet. All right, so the first cut again, 11 1/2, 8 1/2, and 4 1/4. Stabilize each time. This 4 1/4 will get trimmed horizontally at 11 3/4, 10 1/2, and 5 1/2. Then I will match the colors of the piles onto the existing piles that I have sitting aside over here on the left. Just go ahead and find everything that matches. There should be a match for every single one for those 2. And now this little strip we're going to trim horizontally again at 3 1/4. Set that aside. A few scraps to set aside. Grab your next 4 1/4 by 12. This one gets trimmed differently. We start at 10, 7 1/2, and 3 3/4. All right, I'm going to match up my sizes together here. We have one more 3 1/2 by 12 to trim. Our first cut's at 11 1/2, then 10 1/2, and 6 1/4. Okay, the 6 1/4 inch piece is a scrap. This one goes on its matching pile with its friends, as does this little guy. And all that's left to trim now is the surface on which we will be stamping. So we're going to trim all of the panels for all 4 cards from an ivory sheet of paper here. So the first cuts are nice and easy. I'll slide these scraps away so they don't get in our way. We'll cut at 8 and 4. Rotate this piece so it's horizontal, just one of them. Cut at 11, 8 1/4, 5 1/2, and 2 3/4. All of this is in your written instructions that you can download. Here are a bunch of panels I'm going to set aside. There is a small 1-inch scrap that will remain. We'll set that one in the scrap pile. Pick up our next 4 by 12, and this is going to be cut differently. So 9 3/4, 7 1/2, 5 1/4, and 3. The 3-inch piece is actually a scrap or can be used to stamp sentiments. And then these 4 pieces that are the same can be stacked and on their own pile. One more strip, bear with me. Here we are, 10 1/4, 8 1/2, 6 3/4, and 5. Again, this is not used. These 4 pieces are matching and will be used as stamped panels. Now, if you had set out to figure out how to make this for yourself and you downloaded the supply list, and this is probably what you've done if you wanted to make a special card, the supply list would list each individual piece you needed to make the easel card. And then you would go to your paper and you would trim that, and then you would trim that, and you would trim each line item. And then you'd probably somewhere along the way maybe miss something or get a little disorganized, and it would be hard to figure this out. My goal with this process that we do here at Club Scrap is to take all of that complexity out of it and boil it down to simple formulas that you can follow that are easier to reproduce. Now that I have these piles situated, I need to do just a little bit of scoring to complete the preparation. So I do use a score pal, and I have the papers that measure 4 1/4 by 5. There should be 4 of them, and those need to be scored horizontally at 1 1/4 and 2 1/2. All 4 of the pieces horizontally. So that means you want to make sure that the 5-inch reading is here, and 1 1/4, 2 1/2. Those are the only 2 numbers you need to know for this whole entire project. 1 1/4 and 2 1/2. And these are scored horizontally, all 4 of them. Set those aside, and now there's another big pile. These panels measure 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. What's important about these is that they're scored vertically. So make sure that the reading here is at 3 3/4, and down here it'll be 4 1/2. We'll score again at those same numbers, 1 1/4, 2 1/2. And you'll end up doing that 8 times because that's how many sheets of paper you have at this size. 1 1/4 and 2 1/2. And just really make sure that you're scoring them vertically, meaning the 3 3/4. That's all the scoring we need to do. Now is the fun part. I call this the deal. Okay, so I'm going to deal out a card base, 4 card bases, and you should have 1 of each color. And also allow me to point out that if you only trimmed 1 sheet of paper like we did, that will make 1 card. It's just that all the panels would be the same exact color. Now I'm going to match the color of the scored panels to the bases. And the same for these other ones. So just put the green with the green, the purple with the purple, the yellow with the yellow, and the light green with the light green. And those are all essential pieces to create 1 pile for each card. Now the remaining panels, if you have your sizes all matched up correctly, can be distributed as well. So do you see these are distributed? I've got large, medium, small, smaller, and smallest. So I'm going to just start rotating some colors here. So I'm going to put green, yellow, and it doesn't matter how you do this. You can use the same colors if you want, or you can try to do different things. Whatever you prefer, just to add variety to your cards. So I'm going to make sure I get all of the colors featured, 1 color on each of those cards. And once again, coming back, I've got a larger rectangular shape here, and then a smaller one that will nest, and you can choose however you want to distribute those colors. So now every panel has found a home. Then I also have an ivory, 3 large, 3 medium, 3 small. And nothing left. I do have my little pile of scraps, but this is everything we need to make 4 of these fun triple easel cards. So what we're going to do now is make 1 together, and then you'll have all the information you need to make the rest on your own. It's just so cool. And this is how I work my card kit video workshops each month. So with every kit that we release at Club Scrap, I release a full video workshop. Now you'll notice that I folded on the score lines of the largest piece that we have here, and I have my unscored card base in front of me. Now, do you see there are 3 panels here, and there's a wide panel. I'm going to distribute some of our bookbinding glue onto this panel from a needle-tipped applicator. We carry both of these items, and the reason I'm using a liquid glue here rather than a dry glue is it will allow me to get some time to adjust the placement in case I don't get it right the first time. There is an advantage to using liquid glue. So here's this large area. I'm going to align it with the bottom edge of my vertical card base so that the rest of this is coming up this way. Just bond that together, and that's going to actually create our first easel. And it's important that you grab the panel that has this larger area here, and the large area is at the bottom, and it bends forward from there. Now you have 2 more panels that are also scored. The rule of a score line is that the bump of the score, or the raised area, goes on the inside of the fold. That's how Hallmark does it. That's how Club Scrap members do it. So now I have these 3 areas. They're all the same size. I'm just going to have you take one of them on the edge and add our wet bookbinding glue to the strip. And then that is going to be aligned. The bottom edge of that glued strip is going to align with the top folded edge of the previous easel that we've installed. Try to make sure it's level left to right. And again, that's the advantage of a wet glue, is you can make adjustments in case you didn't get it perfectly placed for some strange reason. Now we have this last piece will be attached in the same exact way. So there's my glued surface, lining it up against the folded edge of the previous. If you've ever made a waterfall card, similar type of a process. So now you have these 3 little flaps, and they each are going to need a panel that we can then stand up on the easels that we're creating, okay? So if I have my remaining panels, let's look at them. There should be 1 in each of 3 sizes that graduate perfectly. Isn't that cool? So the smallest panel goes in the front easel, medium in the middle, and tallest in the back. I'm going to start out with my smallest panel, and here I have the scored area on my first flap closest to the bottom of the card. Once again, I'm going with a liquid glue just because if I need to adjust, I can. Otherwise, I have to just drop it and go, and that's a little bit more challenging. Then grab the second easel flap in the front. Make sure you don't get any adhesive on the back of this flap. And now I'm going to place my medium-sized panel there. Isn't this cool how it's coming together? Lastly, we got our third panel, the largest nesting panel here. And every color is just participating in making this a pretty magical card. Now, I have some remaining panels here. I have a nesting panel. So if you wanted to, you could place adhesive on this and center it on its companion. And then to make this card function as an easel, we need to actually raise the sentiment panel so that it can act as a stopper. You've probably seen other types of tent cards that have some sort of a raise thing. You can use a button or embellishment to create a stopper. You could also just use these foam adhesive circles, which we have available, to create your own stopper. So there's a lot of different options there, and I'm going to place this just kind of centered at the bottom of my card base. So the functionality of the card now should exist. This will sit in front, and then these will flip and be held there. Now what you'll notice, and this happens to me every time, is I make the card and it just kind of wants to pop up. What really helps this learn to behave correctly is being flat. So, well, of course, your card will be flat in its envelope when it's being mailed, and that's not a problem because it will be ready to stand up when the panels are done. At this point, you could stamp and decorate the 3 panels that nest perfectly. You've already trimmed them, so they're good to go. And then all you need to do is stamp a sentiment and add it to this. Now in your scrap pile, you should have a little piece of ivory or whatever paper you used to stamp on, trim, and place in that area. Rather than have you cut these little tiny pieces, I just left it as one whole piece so you could stamp it and trim it to fit. I'm going to take just a minute or two and show you a couple of stamping tips, and I'm using the stamps that were designed to coordinate with the Sprouts paper collection that I'm using right now as well. And I'm just going to choose a sentiment from my sheet, and I'm going to go ahead with a thank you, and give you a few tips about how I ensure my stamping is quality and looks nice. One way to do that is if you happen to have a grid print desk plotter. I love this grid paper, and if you take the stamp and just place the clear stamp onto the paper so you can read it legibly, that means it's not inside out or backwards, and make sure that it's level with the grid of the paper. My stamp itself also has a grid on it, so I'm making sure the etch side of the stamp of the block is facing the stamp, and then align the grid of the block with the grid of the paper. Hypothetically, this should be mounted perfectly level onto my block. If you're doubting that, you can go ahead, of course, and just do a test stamp directly onto your grid paper first before stamping on your image. I've gone ahead and trimmed a piece of the ivory scrap to 3/4 of an inch by 2 3/4. And now all I have to do is make sure that this paper that I'm stamping on is level with the grid, and make sure this is level with the grid as well. And if I stamp using that as a guide, it should be perfectly level where I'm headed. Cool, right? So that's the sentiment panel. Now I'm going to take the one that's going to sit in front, and this time I'm going to try a row of these cute little sprouts. So same philosophy. I'll make sure the line of sprouts is level with a line on my paper. Each side is facing the stamp. Align the stamp and the block. Everything is with the grid. That's what's creating your level. Now here you can definitely check. If I stamp on my grid, it's spot on the money, right? Okay, so now I'll stamp again. I'm using Club Scraps Moss Hybrid ink. Make sure this is level. Now, if you don't get it right the first try, you get to flip it over and stamp on the other side, and no one will be the wiser. Oh, that image is so cute. Oh, I love it. Makes me happy. Now I can align this on each side to finish the image. Notice I stamped in the center first. Lovely. Okay, so that's my first one, and if I wanted to, I could add a quote to this. So, grow a beautiful life. I'll mount that the same way, and this process goes quickly once you're used to using it. I mean, it's very easy, very user-friendly, quick way to ensure that your stamping is nice and straight. Oh, isn't that just lovely? So you'll continue on and stamp to decorate the remaining 2 panels, which I'll do right now. Okay, so at this point all my panels are stamped, and now it's just a matter of enjoying the beauty of having everything pre-measured to fit perfectly within the space. And again, I trimmed down this one to 2 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch. That fits there nicely, but you can just do whatever you like. Now the smallest panel should nest, and look at that, it's perfect on all 4 sides. That 1/8 inch margin all the way around. I have carefully calculated that out so it would fit perfectly, and same for this second panel, nests just right. And our final panel, so nice. Now again, once this card learns to behave, I can tuck this behind our little stopper, and you have this super adorable card. I hope you can see that okay without me messing it up here. Oh, grow a beautiful life, plant happiness. Thank you. So just a few more samples to show you. Again, this is a complete set of 4. Now the efficiency here is not only with the trimming that we did, where we trimmed 4 pieces the same way, and then our 5th piece to create panels. The efficiency too is in the stamping and creation. I could just go along, stamp all of these panels. I did some variation just to change the greeting, so I'd end up with 2 thank you cards and 2 cards that say, "You grow, girl." Really fun. That's just one collection. Again, this is a current Club Scrap collection called Sprouts. I also used the same exact colors of paper, but instead substituted the print from our card kit in the Sprouts collection and adapted images from the 2 sheets of printed cut-aparts that are included in our card kits. You know, every month we design a card kit, and then I design cards to go with it, and a full video workshop where you make a dozen cards at a time. So I just adapted some of these images onto my fun little easel cards, used some of the ribbon. I mean, there's just an endless realm of possibilities. Don't stop believing. Don't stop believing you can do it. What about other color schemes? Well, in February we had a collection called Rainy Day. So spring brings us the bunnies, but also brings us the rainy day. And these were some of the first samples I made with my new formula. I was so excited. Plus we had these fun sentiments. 1 minute you're young and fun, and the next you're turning down the stereo in your car to see better. So these, of course, go against the stopper as well, and behave very well because they've been laying flat for a while. So that's kind of the key here. Aren't those fun? And you can arrange these in any order if you want this to be shown first, or if you wanted the umbrellas to be seen first. It just depends on how you want those arranged. So again, 5 sheets of paper from Rainy Day. Let me show you another cool thing. These 2 cards were made from just 2 sheets of paper trimmed the same way. So if you're not in the mood to make 4 cards, not a big deal. Take 2 sheets. Still from paper E, you'll have enough panels to make 4 cards, which is why I made 4 cards, but this was made just with aqua and a burgundy color from our Beautiful Noise collection, as well as these gorgeous classic Beautiful Noise stamps. Life would be flat without you, troublemaker. You're not old, you are a classic. Love these, so elegant, so pretty, and so interactive. Love it. I hope you enjoyed learning more about the triple easel card along with me. There really is a better way to make cards than just finding lists of measurements of pieces and then trimming them all willy-nilly. There is a better way, the Club Scrap way, with our formulas that we offer. And every single month, whether you subscribe to our page kit or our card kit, I know there's a lot of scrapbookers out there too, yearning for workshops and ways to make pages. That's what we do here at Club Scrap. Every month, every kit comes with a full video tutorial where I will teach you how to make the most out of whatever we send. And we like to help you use what you already have because we know that's an issue. I don't know about you. I'm speaking for myself, of course. It's an issue. I have a lot of stuff and I want to use it to make beautiful things. So come along with me, join us at Club Scrap. Be sure to check out our landing page that will be available along with this video indefinitely to make your own cards at your very own pace. clubscrap.com/pages/triple, TRIPLE. So that's a landing page. When you get there, you will be able to download a copy of the instructions, and do not delay to download that free copy. It will not always be free, but it will be free for you today in gratitude for coming along with me on this card making journey. Also, for a limited time, if you use the code TRIPLE when you check out in our shopping cart, you will earn free shipping on orders over $50, which is awesome. And if you decide to join us at Club Scrap, it's a risk-free membership. We will include a free gift with your first membership kit. We'd love to welcome you into the Club Scrap family, and I look forward to seeing you next time.